This happened in the last few weeks with some friends I was hanging out with. One of the guys noticed something strange nearby, but we couldn't figure out what it was. Noticing that the guys were on alert made me instinctively move to stand behind one of them so they were between me and whatever they were paying attention to. The guy I stood behind noticed this and said something approving. In my mind, even though I feel safer having someone stronger between me and an unknown threat, I also feel bad because I'm basically indicating I would prefer for them to face the worst of whatever might be there. I'm curious about what goes through your mind in situations like this. We are all longtime friends, and we were in bear country if you find that relevant. I'm grateful that I've had many good men in my life who have enabled me to grow as a person that trusts and finds safety with the men in my life. I know many women dislike men, but that's not who I am. Also, as someone who has been alone in the woods with men and has had bear encounters, I have always known I feel safer with men, especially once that question started going around the internet. Story 1. I definitely want to protect my friends, and it makes me feel good that they trust me and feel safe around me. Story 2. I've had women do this over the years. Always women I know, so I'm fine with it. I'm protective anyway. She just needs to stay back a couple of feet to give me room to move suddenly, or keep a hand between my shoulder blades so I know where she is. Story 3. Kind of like when a woman moves to sit next to you on the bus so that the strange person leaves her alone. I am the hero today, the chosen one. Story 4. My husband instinctively steps between me and whatever is escalating. I am a career soldier, barrel racer, and foot race runner, so I am capable. I have never said anything like that to him, though. He is just protective in all the ways that matter. Story 5. I am a big target. I could hide a few people behind me. I am going to protect myself, and if in doing so I happen to protect others, that is great. Story 6. It is what should happen. Strong people should protect those who need it. However, if that woman caused the trouble, she is on her own. Story 7. No guy thinks you are sacrificing him. Everyone has instincts. You moved behind him as if someone would flinch or grab a hand automatically, not selfishly. Plus, you are friends, not strangers. Story 8. Flattered, but I am hopeful she will intervene if things go wrong. If I involve them, they should at least call the police. Story 9. Ma'am, that's what we are here for. We imagine the day we face a bear to save others. Valhalla awaits. Story 10. If my girlfriend or children are with me, and I see something I do not like, they will have a hard time getting behind me before I get in front of them. If it is a woman I do not know, I doubt I am paying any attention to where she is. Story 11. Yeah, I am fine with it. You need to be able to run or call 911 if I get incapacitated. It is generations of evolutionary behavior that we cannot override. Story 12. For me, I would not mind, but it really depends on the situation. If it is a conflict between two women and one tries to use me as a shield, then I am moving because I do not want to go to jail for defending myself. Also, if the woman started the fight by being aggressive, then I have no problem letting her learn consequences in not getting into a fight because someone did not want to keep their mouth closed. Story 13. Good. I like to protect my friends, male or female, and I would rather take a hit than let them get hurt. Bad. I feel bad because it seems less bad if I, as a man, take a hit rather than a woman. It is like the idea of women and children first, which is similar to me saying, you are a woman and I am hungry, so you have to cook. But I am used to it. Story 14. It would depend on the nature of the threat. If it is some trouble she caused by being mean to someone and wants me to fight for her, then absolutely not. Otherwise, I have no problems with it. Story 15. Like a man. I agree that, even from a safety perspective, sometimes it is better not to be in the way and let us handle it. Story 16. I teach my girlfriends to retreat if able. I will position myself between the threat and her. I will try to de-escalate and provide backup until I cannot. If she was the cause of the fight, such as a drunk political conversation at a bar or spitting on an ex, we will have a long conversation. It is quite possible that would be the end of the relationship. Ladies, never put your man in danger. We know what it is like to fight. Most of us know someone with serious injuries or who has been jumped by a group of cowards. There are really few fair fights anymore. Story 17. Depends on the situation. If it is family, friends, or girlfriend or wife, I would always stand in front of her. A stranger? Maybe, but first I need to know the situation before I possibly die for someone who does not know my name. Story 18. I don't care if you are a man or a woman as long as you are a friend. If we are in a potentially dangerous situation and you feel safer standing behind me, by all means, make yourself safe. Strangers are really a situational matter. Story 19. You did exactly right. I was in a bar a long time ago, and two men were arguing and getting intense. I moved to stand between them and a woman who was oblivious to what was going on until they started throwing punches about 10 feet away. Meanwhile, the bouncer shoves both of them right out the door. It was smooth, and I am still like, wow, cool. That woman looks at me and says, "Did you just move between me and them?" Say, "Yes, my wife, I did." She says, "Well, you are getting so lucky tonight when we get home." Story 20. You could get the attention of the bartender and let them decide what the establishment's next step is. Then it does not involve you. Story 21. I would ask her if she is independent and feminist. If yes, then I would push her in front of the angry bear because I believe in equality. Story 22. It sounds like you do not view men and women as completely equal in all respects. That is unfortunate and sexist. Story 23. Many or most men are wired to be the hero and protector. This likely fulfills an emotional need for them. Story 24. If you were a destroy the patriarchy or we are all equal kind of woman, then you proved yourself to be a hypocrite. If you believe men and women have roles in a functional society, then you were being consistent. The question is, what were your opinions, attitudes, and actions before that day? Story 25. Usually like it, but do not do it with the intention of causing trouble or exaggerating how dangerous someone is to get them ostracized as a method of social politics. Story 26. It's really going to depend on circumstances. There is a priority list. My wife is at the top. Then my female friends and family members. Then my wife's friends. Then strangers. It is about proximity to me since I am the one fending off the danger. I am less inclined to be a barrier for a stranger, but I do not mind if someone does it in a scenario where the danger levels are reasonable. My concern these days is more about risk management. The priority is to keep my wife secure. Dying, going to jail, or even just fighting on behalf of a stranger conflicts with that goal. Respectfully, most women could not fill the gaps that would be left for the women in my life if something happened to me. They would feel no obligation to try despite me potentially saving their life. Nowadays, I am more selective about when I am willing to be the barrier for danger for women I do not know. Story 27. I am fine with whoever is doing that. Just, for the love of God, do not grab or lean on me. I need to be able to move. Story 28. Unless she is dragging me into an altercation that she started, I probably would not mind. My boyfriend might though. Seriously, I always prefer to back away from a fight. Sure, I bumped you and spilled your beer. I will buy the next round. I am sorry. Whatever, call me names. I do not care about insults. When there is a gun in your waistband, the responsibility to be the bigger person and walk away is always on you. If, God forbid, I ever face a jury having shot somebody, I want to be able to say I made every effort to end things otherwise. You can carry an ego or a handgun, but you have to choose. Story 29. It depends on the situation. I went to a concert years ago, and this guy was grinding on a girl who looked uncomfortable. I asked if she was okay, but she did not answer. I got between them. He hit the back of my head, and I knocked him out. If a girl gets mad and punches a guy, do not get behind me. I will break up the fight. That is the best you can expect. Story 30. That's what I tell my wife to do. And do not grab me, not by the arm. Do not hang on my shirt. Just pay attention to what I say and do. But I am old-fashioned. If a more modern woman wants to step up, I will stand behind her and wait for instructions. Story 31. My wife, mother, and daughters all have a place behind me in times of concern. I do not mind anyone else doing the same as long as mine come first. Many modern feminists rationalize this behavior, but it is natural for a reason. There is nothing to be ashamed of, and most men would prefer it this way. Anyone who would not, I would have difficulty categorizing them. Story 32. I am at peace with this. I do not ever go out looking for trouble, but if it finds me, I will ring the bell if I have to. Story 33. Single me without children? Sure. I'll stand up for anybody. I always have. But married me with children? That's different. Unless it's my own family, I can't use myself or let someone else use me as a human shield. That wouldn't honor the commitment I made to my wife and children. I was raised to protect those who are weaker, and I've lived that way my whole life. Once marriage and kids are involved, my responsibility is to protect my family, whether they're physically with me or not. Protecting them means doing what it takes to make it home to them in one piece. So unless it's a child or a pregnant woman, no happenstance. My instinct in any questionable situation is simple: we need to leave immediately. I'm not sticking around to see if things are safe or not. If you're an adult, you can come with me or stay and deal with it. If it's a child, they don't get a choice. I'm taking them to safety, no debate. Once they're safe, I'll contact the authorities and let them handle the rest. Story 34. You instinctively did what women have evolved to do over the course of millions of years. It takes more than 50 years of feminism to overwrite behaviors imprinted on your genes. Story 35. Happy. She removes herself as a variable. I do not find myself with women who start these types of situations, so I prefer that they exit quietly and go call someone. Story 36. I have only ever encountered this after a woman has done something egregious and absolutely instigated the issue. Women are not subjected to dangers, as every man knows they will get attacked if they assault a woman in public. In my personal experience, the man usually tries to defuse the situation by calming the woman. Men will just fight and people move out of the way. Story 37. She is strong and independent. I have to pull her back up front. Confront those demons. I am going to make myself a sandwich. Story 38. As long as she did not cause danger and is not trying to force me into a dangerous situation, it is not an issue. Story 39. If I can help, I am helping. A younger girl at a bar came and grabbed me and another man, ducking in between us because some man would not leave her alone. I knew her from being there and knew her boyfriend at the time too, and was happy to help out. Story 40. It's fine. Just please don't try to hold me, especially when things get physical with another man. You'll help him hurt me. Story 41. Fine, especially if it's family, a girlfriend, friend, or a stranger, particularly if they have children with them or look concerned. If it's a dangerous person, I cannot expect a woman to get in front of me to protect me unless it's Chris Cyborg. Fortunately, I am not a feminist and do not believe we are equal across the board, physicality included. Therefore, the agreement we make is, I will stand between you and the threat. But should the potential threat become an actual threat, you will not impede my ability to defend us. Do not scream in my ear, do not get between me and the threat, keep back, call emergency services, and help once I have neutralized the threat and he can no longer hit you. You would think this would be common sense, but the number of videos on online platforms where a girlfriend holds her man back or restricts his arms, resulting in her boyfriend getting hit, is frightening. Almost always, the women are just screaming. Thankfully, I have only been in this position a handful of times, and the threats did not escalate to actual fights. Story 42. It does not really matter. If I am in real danger, I will probably still outrun her and let her deal with it. Story 43. We both used to work for the local sheriff's office and still carry on with our old habits by carrying concealed weapons. We stand at a 45-degree angle from each other to have a better field of view. If either of us has to fire a round, we are out of each other's line of fire. Story 44. Only for my family. If you are not a blood relative and try to make me your meat shield, I may reverse Uno and move you in front of me. Call the bears, sweetie. Story 45. If she gets behind me, there is a reason. Whatever that reason is, now it has to go through me to get to her. I am nowhere near the biggest or the baddest, but I do not need to be. Story 46. That is exactly what it signals. Be my meat shield. This small behavior is a female privilege, and men are often socialized to be that meat shield, finding some masculine validation in your expression of needing them. It is an archaic gender role, a burden, and a source of moral outrage when men do not accept the role you put them in. One that can invite ridicule, criticism, and ostracization to reinforce it. I will not risk grievous bodily harm for anyone who would not do the same for me. It is 2025. Men are not sacrifices for women's safety, but women definitely will not be the ones to change that. Story 47. If the advantages and privileges of chivalry are to be deemed sexist or bigoted, and must therefore be done away with, then so too must the responsibilities. If I choose to act and put myself in harm's way, that's one thing. If you are going to impose that responsibility on me and put me in harm's way for your benefit and to my detriment, for example, getting stabbed, shot, murdered, or imprisoned solely because I am a man and you are a woman, no thanks. What annoys me is the question is never one of, would you place your body in front of a weaker man and face the consequences? It is not about protecting the weak. It is purely about protecting women solely and only because they are women. What are their social responsibilities and obligations to random men again? Nothing at all, right? You cannot eat your cake and have it too. Either we are equal or we are not. Story 48. You are free to stand anywhere you want. I am not your warden. When you identify as a feminist, I will choose to stand behind you, because it is a well-known fact that feminists can do everything men can do better. Story 49. For a stranger? Probably not. Maybe if I am feeling particularly chivalrous and want to be a hero that day. But I will not become a physical barrier if she touches me, screams or freezes and does not create some distance. Story 50. It depends on the context of the situation. She is either doing this because I make her feel safe and she believes that I can protect her. Or maybe it is just one of those situations where I do not have to be faster than the bear, just faster than you. One makes me feel good. The other makes me feel like, hey, what the heck? Story 51. I cannot say it has ever been something that really needed to happen, but if it did, I would probably be looking for how we can all safely make our exit. I am 5 feet 3 inches tall and not especially strong. I will fight if I need to, but we are all going to be safer if we do not rely on me to be the strong one. Story 52. Honestly, in the heat of the moment, it is kind of the opposite. It is like you saying, I have your back, because you did not run. The only time it really hurts is when your friend runs and you are left standing alone facing the threat. A bard does not attack but keeps up morale. I have been in both situations, and I can tell you right now that thinking of the friend who stayed has me tearing up. I am a big guy, but knowing that anyone has my back allows me to have zero doubt. Story 53. It is a good idea. It gives me more room to draw weapons, and I do not have to throw you out of the way if something happens. That is why more senior knights walked a couple of paces in front and to the left of their squires and junior companions. Story 54. Personally, I am concerned about the person's safety and getting some sort of courage boost. However, if the same situation happens to me when I am alone, I might run. Story 55. Depends on the situation. Normally, I am totally fine with someone getting behind me if I think something is going to happen. Mostly, I would be thankful they are out of my way if I have to act. Story 56. It is what I expect a woman to do. The only exception is if she is more trained and skilled than I am at addressing the threat. Story 57. Are you making yourself useful or just hiding? Note that grabbing a makeshift spear might be useful, but pulling out your phone to record video is often more useful in this day and age. Story 58. If it means protecting someone who still has a dream, it doesn't bother me. Just pay attention and get away from the danger. Story 59. I have been in enough altercations to develop a me-see woman, me-protect reflex whenever things get serious and a person who objectively cannot stand up for herself is at risk of getting involved in something she will not be able to handle. If anything, she will testify in my defense later. Story 60. I have no problem with it. If you feel you need to be protected, then I will protect you. I do not even care if it is a man or a woman, child or adult. I have this. Story 61. I don't mind it. As long as you are not hiding from a big spider. In that case, I am the one hiding. Story 62. I am 6 feet 5 inches tall. I have had other men stand behind me in situations of potential danger. I think almost everyone feels safer when someone bigger or stronger is between them and any threat to their safety. That said, if there is genuine danger, find a way to help rather than just standing and staring. I do not want to get hurt any more than anyone else does, and I am certainly not going to let my ego get in the way of that. Story 63. I am not a big person, but I am a combat veteran Marine and I can handle myself in almost any situation, even if that means knowing when to retreat. I would defend anyone smaller than me if necessary, regardless of age or gender. However, if you are standing behind me, I would appreciate it if you also get to safety while you can. If the other 3 individuals start attacking you while I am fighting 1 or 2, what was it all for? Help me help you. Story 64. I am a 7-foot giant and my partner is 5 feet 3 inches and meek. I am more than happy to be her shield if something happens. She feels safe and I get that instinct to protect her and be strong. Thankfully, the threat tends to be spiders, which she is terrified of, so there is no actual danger. However, she does stress me out when I am trying to catch them. Story 65. I would feel a little encouraged that you consider me capable of protecting you, almost honored even. That being said, my autism might cause me to not notice. Story 66. That's fine with me as long as you are okay with potentially getting trampled when I lose control and flee right through you in abject terror. Story 67. I'm a bit uncertain about this because some people don't just stand behind you. They fully grab you, freeze, and it's like having a dead anchor attached to you. If I can't tell what they are going to do, I'm not risking that. Story 68. Makes me feel like she trusts me and thinks I am strong or strong enough. But at the same time, I am not your meat shield. Story 69. What if your partner tries to stand between you and danger even though she obviously would not be able to do anything useful out of instinct or reflex? Story 70. A person who, at least to you, seems to have more fighting capability, and you position yourself behind that person in case something happens, seems to be an absolutely natural reaction. When something scary happened when I was little, you would usually find me hiding behind my mom. Story 71. I don't think I have any personal obligation to move in front, and I can't begrudge someone for feeling scared and trying to hide. That being said, I would likely resent someone trying to use me as a shield or demanding I act as one, which puts me in danger I would not otherwise be in. Story 72. I would feel that is the right thing to do. If I am with my wife, my mother, or my sister, I would keep myself between them and anything dangerous by default. However, if a random woman did that, it would be fine as well. Story 73. Had it about 10 years ago. A woman at work on a night out was always starting trouble. When it kicked off, she hid behind me hoping I would sort it out. No thanks. I moved to the side. You start something, you finish it. That woman has always been difficult to me. She got her butt kicked by a bigger woman that night. Story 74. At that moment, I just realized things can get ugly quickly, so I think it is a valid instinctual response if you find yourself standing behind someone bigger than you. Story 75. One of the reasons for me is to get out of their way. I've been shoved, not in a bad way, but like move. Even when they attempted to be. I've never been very welcomed. Not a bad thing, in my opinion. You can also tell if the guys are getting aggression or alerts up and are getting in position, so to speak. In that case, I'm either a distraction, a liability, or in their way from their view. It's more respectful and safer for me to get out of their way because it's like being in the middle of 2 people about to go at it. So it's less like, if you get hurt, not me, and more like, get out of the collision course. This is not always the case, but you intuitively pick up on it. I still have difficulty remembering this half the time, but am better at stopping myself before I get too involved because you just see the situation unfolding. You can always tell them you appreciate them and feel safe physically around them afterward. It's nice to be appreciated. I don't think most of these guys are going to be offended that you didn't throw yourself in front of them to protect them. They may even feel emasculated, if anything. I have accidentally emasculated some guys before because my way of compassion looked different than theirs did. Story 76. You standing behind me means I have less to worry about when engaged with a threat. I would rather have a woman standing there than, God forbid, getting between me and the threat, which creates a bigger issue. Story 77. I am barely over 5 feet 5 inches and 145 pounds, although physically fit. If my girlfriend is hiding behind me expecting me to take the brunt of what is coming at us, she is also in trouble. I have considered suggesting the possibility of allowing her to have a second boyfriend for this very reason. Story 78. It only feels fair that my size, which I kind of did nothing to earn, helps people when I can, because it suits me fine every second of every day. I benefit from it all the time, mostly when I do not even realize how lucky I am to not feel threatened by people. So fill your boots. We all help each other out in the ways we can. Story 79. Unless it is my wife or my daughter, I would move out of the way. My responsibility is to be there for my family, and I cannot do that if I die playing the hero for some random person. Besides, it is 2025, and I support their right to be strong and independent women and face equal or greater danger. Story 80. Instant protect mode, like hardwired. Women, children, or anyone more vulnerable to danger. My primitive brain just starts yelling, "This is what you were made for." Story 81. How do you feel when a woman moves to stand behind you in situations of potential danger? I am fine with it. I am a big person with martial arts training, military training, and experience in physical confrontations. I have positioned myself between friends and potential danger. I protect those whose well-being I care about. My belief is that if they get through me, most likely no one else in my group has a chance. Often, my size and efforts to de-escalate situations seem to change minds. If my friends are willing and able to help, great. If not, protect yourself and stay out of the way. Story 82. I'm big and tall, and it happens to me a lot. I don't mind, really. Usually, it's a woman trying to get away from a creepy man. I can't tell you how often a woman will take my arm and pretend we are a couple. I'm happy to be of service in that way. It's the only time I'm glad that I look a little intimidating. Story 83. You do not have to outrun the bear, but at least one other person in your group. If that gives you a 1 or 2 step advantage, take it. Story 84. Something similar happened to me in my early 20s, but instead of getting behind me, this attractive woman embraced me tightly. Well, what can I say? Something inside me felt very proud. Story 85. This has happened before on multiple occasions. The latest was at work when I stayed late with a female coworker who lifts weights. She is seriously fit and I am a bit taller and heavier. We were working late. She works at the front desk and I work in the back for the most part. We work at a small business. A random man walked in right before closing and asked to use the bathroom. He refused to take no for an answer. I walked to the front to see what the commotion was about and let him into the back to use the restroom, but he acted weird, shifty, and a bit rude. I went back to my area where I was working, and she came to sit with me, saying it was for her safety. First, I thought it was cute. Then I started thinking, what can I use as a weapon if things go wrong? From my perspective, it was cute. It gave a slight boost to my confidence. As for the question, should I like to think about the consequences of doing nothing when I could have done something. Story 86. If others can see the danger but you cannot, it makes the most sense for you to move behind the people who spotted the danger, whether man or woman, until you are able to assess the situation. That is a natural human reaction. Story 87. Good. That's what she should do. Just don't tug on the guy leading up to the fight. That is very irritating. Let him do what he has to do. Story 88. I want you to stand behind me so that I do not have to worry about defending someone who is far away. Story 89. If she is family or friends, we will be okay with it. If she is a random person and she instigated it, she can take a hit like a strong, independent, feminist woman who does not need a man until she needs one as a human shield. Story 90. I am the type of person who would stand up and protect a woman. It is the way I was raised. Supporting someone if you are not the protector is wise, unless there may possibly be gunfire. In that case, you want to get far away, preferably at a 90-degree angle, to get out of the line of fire more quickly. Story 91. 1. Improve your performance. Know your limits. It sounds like you are on the right track, but everyone involved, including yourself, will appreciate you improving your performance. Story 92. I pulled a prank on my boss with all my coworkers. We hid a Bluetooth speaker under her desk and played mouse sounds. I was in front of her, recording in secret. When she heard the sound, she dashed to get behind me faster than I have seen anyone move before. After we all started laughing, she was more upset that I was in on it. She ran to me to save her. Joke's on her, I guess. Story 93. Heat up. I am a bit hyper-aware, so I tend to see danger where others do not. Often, when I see danger, nothing ends up happening. However, if I see danger and so do all the people around me, the thoughts in my head start racing at the speed of sound. Story 94. If I know them, cool. If I do not know them, I will view them as a potential threat. Either because she wants her partner to fight me, or she will attack me from behind when her accomplice attacks me from the front. Story 95. You did what millions of years of evolution have taught us to do. Just like the men alerted and moved to defend, you move to be defended, which fit with your friend's frame of reference. Whether a conscious decision or not, it was still the right thing to do for both of you, and both probably felt good about it. Funny how that works. Story 96. I want the people around me to be safe. Someone less capable or willing than me could complicate the situation, increasing all our danger. Them moving behind me to reduce their risk in the situation probably reduces my risk. I would approve and be thankful. The opposite is true if they are too close, touching me, yelling, screaming, or somehow escalating the situation. Story 97. I have no problem with it and wouldn't blame any woman for picking me to feel safe behind, since I'm a fairly big fellow with a face that shows it's been hit a few times. I have worked security and also had considerable training and fighting experience. I am also the type of person who puts themselves in potential danger to help de-escalate domestic abuse situations at work, as well as a road rage incident where a man was threatening a mother and her young daughter. I like to think my presence helped calm him down, but I imagine it was actually the large can of bear spray that did the talking for me. Story 98. When I was around 11 years old, my little sister and I were walking home from the bus stop, a 1-minute walk from a bus stop that was visible from my home. It was a rare day because my mother couldn't be home to watch us walk back. During that minute, a man and a woman pulled up alongside us in a green Chevrolet. They began offering us candy. Stranger danger lessons took over, and as they became more persistent, I noticed that my little sister moved to hide behind me. They eventually drove off, but then returned to stalk the house we were walking to. I was just a kid, but looking back, I feel relieved that I was still able to protect my sister so that she didn't have to confront the monsters. As much as I wish that situation had never happened, it means a lot to me that my sister felt safe hiding behind me. I feel very protective over the women in my family and my friends, but I would not do the same for someone I do not know. I am not going to risk my life or even a scratch for someone who 99% does not view me as a human being. Story 99. My friend had a stalking problem at a convention I attended a year ago. She asked me to walk her to the hotel and told me to wait for her. Sure, I was husky built, but I didn't care. She was a friend, and she asked a favor, so I intended to keep it. But if you are a random woman, maybe not. Story 100. You did as you should have done. I will take the hit, engage the threat, whatever it takes, but I need my wife or daughters or any woman or child to remain behind me until I have engaged. Then they can run for help, hopefully. I am not especially keen on dying or being horrifically injured. If they break and run, especially from an animal attack, the animal will chase them instead of going after me. This is also true of human attacks to a lesser extent. Story 101. I think it is natural. Men evolved a sense of being the protector and women the protected. That is how our societies worked for many thousands of years. It is deeply innate. But modern society tries to demonize many of those basic human instincts, and I think that is sad. I am not advocating that we go back to our tribal roots, But I do not think there is anything wrong with acknowledging what made us who we are, and that it is still part of us. Traditional gender roles, while often needlessly restrictive in modern society, did not come from nowhere. The problem I would have with it is if the woman was a hypocrite, saying things like men are useless, and women can do anything men can do, while standing behind a man when trouble arises, or when there is a big spider in the bath or a strange noise downstairs. Story 102. As long as this is a normal woman, this is how it should be. But if she is a feminist, absolutely not. She wants to be equal, so do not hide behind me. Story 103. Very few people have the training and, more importantly, the experience to avoid making hasty snap decisions in critical moments. Most men will probably expect you to go behind them and will intend to go in front of you anyway. Certainly, the one time I experienced this with my then-girlfriend, now wife, that was the case. If anyone judges you after the fact for split decisions like that, they are obviously not the type of person to think deeply about things, so you should not care too much about their opinion. Story 104. I appreciate it. If the issue is in front of me, I do not want any distractions in my line of sight. I might even put out my arm to indicate you should step back behind me, regardless of your gender. There are two instincts at play here, fight and flight. Both are valid. My first instinct is to protect, so I often move forward in that scenario. Story 105. I don't mind it at all. I'm pretty traditional and only have one real rule. If things get serious, stay out of the way because she will get hurt or I will get hurt. At most, keep a hand with an open palm on your partner, so he knows you are still there and does not have to look for you. An open palm is important so that if things move quickly, you will not tense up and accidentally grab him. Story 106. If you are my friend, I expect you to do this. If you did the opposite and tried to put yourself in the middle of it or get involved, including standing in the way, speaking, or grabbing my arms, I will almost certainly have a conversation with you afterwards about not doing it again, because if you are behind me, I can focus on the issue. If you are in the way, you are obstructing my view and making everything more difficult. If you are grabbing my arm or anything else, you are slowing down my reaction time in case something happens. My wife and close friends have had this conversation with me, unfortunately due to past experiences. They know the best thing to do is to get out of the situation and get help from a safe place if possible, or back away behind me and stay out of it if not. Story 107. Just standing behind me is no issue and even preferable, so I do not have to push past you. Now pushing me forward so that you are behind me might get you volunteered to be my human shield. Story 108. If it's something that has put me on alert, but not into time to go mode, I will position myself to step in if needed. This has happened a few times at my old job. My crew was mostly young women, and we worked at several job sites in rough areas. Instead of spreading out to get everything done quickly, I keep the women together and work between them and the potentially dangerous individuals as a buffer. Story 109. I also feel bad because I am basically indicating I would prefer for them to experience the worst of whatever might be over there. Do not feel bad about that. It is a natural reaction. It is like a natural reaction for some men to put themselves between you and the danger. Just do not stay too close or hold his arms. Story 110. Men's instincts are to protect people who need protecting, so we do not mind when they go behind us. This is why men enjoy superheroes. I worked for a year at McDonald's near a homeless shelter, so there were many violent drug addicts who attacked customers and coworkers. I came to their aid whenever needed. Story 111. That is the way it is supposed to work. It is fine. Even if I took a mostly selfish view about it, which I would not, assuming there is some physical threat going on like a violent person or something, you are likely to be a liability if you try to help. Just focus on your own safety and get out of the way. Story 112. I would take it as a compliment. No matter where I am, women naturally feel safer around me and biologically trust that I can defend them. I would argue that this is a feature of good, genuine masculinity. Story 113. That depends on who she is. Family or friend, fine. Some random woman, no. No one is paying me to be her bodyguard. Story 114. I personally do not care if it is a woman I know or do not know. I think it is the smart thing to do. I guess maybe I am a bit more traditional, but I think if a dangerous situation occurs, It is only natural for men to protect women and children. Granted, I do not think men are obligated to protect, but many men will naturally want to. At least I would. I have regularly stepped between my sister or mom and one of my mentally unstable family members growing up, so maybe I am just more used to it. Story 115. Please do not feel bad. Many people, myself included, try to plan what we would do if our local school or supermarket was attacked by a dangerous person or terrorist. We consider where the exits are, how we would coordinate, and how to get women, children, and the elderly out. It is far better to have a plan than to be caught unawares. Most individuals instinctively want to defend and protect and recognize that they may be required to make a sacrifice. Story 116. If she is a friend or family member, that is where I expect her to be so she does not impede any action I need to take to defend us. I was at a club with friends where there was a shooting. At the first shot, my friend and I were instantly alert. We grabbed our partners and moved them behind us before they even knew what had happened. After the fourth or fifth gunshot, they realized what was happening and started to panic and wanted to run. We held them behind us until we could determine the shooter's location. Then we rushed them out while staying between them and the shooter. Story 117. It is the privilege of the strong to defend the weak. If it is going down, I would rather they were behind me to make it easier. That is one less thing to worry about. Unless they are hanging on me, then I have a problem. Story 118. I have never been bothered by it, except when it is another man. In that case, I always say, hey, grow a spine and get up here. Story 119. Most real men do not mind performing masculine responsibilities. We are not typically as contentious or resentful about it as our partners. Story 120. Used to be the way it was supposed to be, but now men are disrespectful and chivalry is considered rude. We are all equal and all that. So go on with your bad self, and do not hide behind me if you are not my partner. Story 121. If I am bigger and stronger than you, I do not mind taking the lead if there is a threat to us. However, you should help if things escalate. Story 122. Well, I guess I am the disposable one, the meat shield in the relationship. That is good to know. To be honest, and this is probably some internal bias I am carrying, I probably would not actually mind. However, she should know that my default reaction in fight or flight scenarios is flight. As my black belt friend always says, running away is always the best option for violent conflicts. Story 123. I cannot fight well, so people should not expect me to become Batman to defend them. However, I will absolutely do my best to protect them from potential danger. Story 124. It is worse when they are looking at a restaurant door and duck without saying why just before the shooting starts. Story 125. Do not grab my arm, and move away if I need to sprawl or backstep. Otherwise, you become a liability and a hazard to my survival. If you follow these rules, you may use me as a shield. Story 126. I am a big man, and it seems like a normal reaction to me. There are situations that are not a threat to me in the slightest that may be very unpleasant to a woman, and I am happy to assist. If I am out in public and someone cannot behave appropriately, I will usually put myself between them and the people I am with. Story 127. Nothing ever happens, so it is fine. If something does happen, standing in front of me certainly is not going to help. Story 128. It seems like the common sense thing to do to me. I don't see why someone would have a problem with it as long as you're not shoving someone into the threat. Backing away is not the same as forcing someone else to confront it. It's just one person saying, I'm not the police officer or soldier of the group. And that's fine. When people only have time to act on instinct, this is what happens most of the time. It's natural. There's a reason we humans act this way. It has worked well for us so far. People tend to self-sort in situations like this, and if you're not a fighter but can be helpful in another way, do it. Other than that, there is nothing wrong with women backing away from a threat. I would expect most men have had this happen at least once in their lives, if not more. Story 129. I have an instinct to put myself between problem and people, so I would not mind at all. It is better to be behind me than in the open. Story 130. I think what is generally going through the mind of most men who notice a woman moving behind them when encountering an unidentified threat is this: she is alert. Great. She is staying out of harm's way. I can fully focus on the threat. Story 131. As a man, there is nothing more gratifying than a woman, friend, sister, mother, girlfriend, or even a stranger, feeling safer with me. Yes, get behind me. I will take care of this or get you to safety. My masculine urge to protect those more vulnerable than myself is unquenchable. Story 132. Now I am too old for that behavior. In my teens and 20s, absolutely. I was always willing to help if something became unfair. Story 133. I would step in front of you before you had a chance to step behind me. It does not matter if I know you or not. Any women, children, or people with any sort of vulnerability can use me for protection if anything is happening. Story 134. I would be happy about this, and I truly believe that my role is to protect and support my loved ones and, if possible, other people. If a woman stands behind me, it means she trusts me and sees me as a source of support and protection. This is who I am, and I am pleased with that. Story 135. This post made me realize I subconsciously do this. I, female, tend to stand behind taller or bigger build males if I get suspicious of something. Story 136. It is a moral principle that the strong protect the weak. I would not be fulfilling my moral duty if I did not step forward to protect my friends and family, especially those who cannot protect themselves. However, I think many adults do not take self-defense seriously enough. I started late. Target shooting, concealed carry with pepper spray, a firearm, or whatever tool you feel comfortable training with. Also, CPR, first aid, and trauma care. I like to take friends to a state park for target shooting, so I got a trauma kit and need to schedule a class to learn how to use it better. I am going to get a couple more with my health savings account card for my personal truck and home kit. It is ironic to me that the extreme feminist culture wants to ban guns. They deny the benefits of males in society, claiming we do nothing but harm it, but they also want to disarm society of firearms and only trust the military and law enforcement with them. The military and law enforcement are mostly male. Also, a firearm is an equalizer where other melee weapons leave women at a serious disadvantage in a fight. Story 137. He was calm with it because most men are built this way. As a well-trained man, my instinct is to step between danger and any women or children with me. You made his day. Trust me. Story 138. It's a compliment. Call me old-fashioned, but strong men should be able to protect women. Whether I know her or not, if the chances of me being physically hurt are smaller, then it's acceptable to me. Story 139. Yes, sad and surprising, the top answer is, she is on her own. I was about to respond, this is what men live for. But I have long known I am a caveman in the printed word age. Some men are wired for conflict awareness. Others get taught, and apparently others avoid it. I agree with the comments that list the benefits. They far outweigh the problems. If I let one of my friends or my wife take a wound I could have avoided, that matters. We can argue about the problematic nuances of modern interpretations of masculinity later, but please just let me handle the threat and get us to safety. Story 140. I would be fine with it. It is part of your societal role as a man to do your best to protect those around you who are more vulnerable to danger. Not everyone likes this role, and I don't think they are bad people for that. However, I am fine with being in this position and would be glad to know that someone felt safer with me between them and danger. On the other hand, if you were fighting with some guys or another woman and things were escalating, then you ran behind me, that would be totally different and I would be upset. I will defend someone from senseless violence, but I'm not going to get myself killed over some random conflict. I think a fair number of men have been in an uncomfortable situation like that before, so they are hesitant to be open to something worded like this, even though it is a totally different kind of situation than you describe. Story 141. I feel like a Top Gun. I feel like I am the one who knocks. I feel like the chosen one. I feel like the final boss before the cutscene. I feel like a Wi-Fi signal with full bars. I feel like a printer that works on the first try. I feel like a traffic cone, firmly planted and important. I feel like the unmovable object awaiting the stoppable force. Story 142. I am surprised by some of the upvoted comments here. If trouble is happening and you are weaker than me, get behind me. Try to help. Let us do our best. I do not care what your gender is. I will do my best for the innocent to disengage and get away from violence. Those of us, women or men, have an obligation to protect the weak from being victims. Story 143. Well, I don't care who stands behind me if it makes them more comfortable or feel safer. Being in the military for over 20 years, I automatically assess the situation and focus on protecting whoever needs it. I also look for exit routes to move people away. Story 144. No man will ever complain about a woman, especially a friend or someone they are interested in, standing behind them in this situation. At worst, you get to call yourself a hero for protecting them from a bad situation if it actually happens, and at best, it is an ego boost. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.